Welcome back to the Future of Supply Chain. I'm John Kingston, editor-at-large at FreightWaves. You know, right behind me in this exhibition hall are booths manned by people from companies that I think pretty much all would be considered freight tech. And we're here today with Dan Cicerci, the GM of the Transportation Management Solutions Group at Descartes. And who better to talk about the M&A field for freight tech than somebody who works for a company that does a lot of acquisitions and who came to the company through an acquisition also. Right. So Dan, welcome to the Future Supply Chain.
Thanks, John.
And to FreightWaves TV. Why don't you talk about your history with Descartes, with the kind of company that you owned and that you sold to Descartes, and then what you're doing now?
Sure, yeah, it was interesting perspective. So my business partner and I founded MacroPoint back in 2009. And so I was a freight tech startup, and we went through the, we timed it right, escalated quickly, grew quickly, and started to get requests from people that wanted to buy our business. And it wasn't something that we were thinking about, and learned very quickly in that process. And long story short, Descartes was the ultimate acquirer of our business a little over 7 years ago.
Now you did something that, I won't say it's unique, but it's not always the course. You stayed there.
Yep.
You stay with the acquirer, and that's not always the way it is. A lot of times the founders will take their cash and exit and start something new. You chose to stay. What was that decision like?
Well, I mean, and I think it's why Descartes was the right fit, because I think the question is, as an entrepreneur, you ask yourself, what do you care about? Certainly you want to optimize your sale price, but also the product's your baby. You have relationships with customers and employees, and you want to make sure that they're taken care of too. And so that really became front and center to us as we thought about the exit. And then ultimately I realized, because my mindset was I'm going to leave in a year, but I realized I love the business. My wife doesn't want to see me every day, all day, and I care about the people I work with. And so it made it an easy decision, and it's been fantastic over the last 7 years.
Yeah, I read it was a retirement column in the New York Times recently, and it was an entrepreneur who had started a company. In the last 2 or 3 years, he would focus just on exiting, and he exited, and he got his big check, and he was home. And the letter to the retirement column was from his wife, and the guy was driving her crazy. Oh, anyway.
Truth be told, I actually retired for 3 months.
Okay.
So I was there for a year and a half, wanted to do the transition, burnout, it was a long sprint. I said, I'm done. And my wife's like, really? She was right. So the CEO and I kept in touch, and I came back about 4 months later.
Well, I hope the 3 months were warm 3 months rather than, okay. That's good. Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about the acquisition market for freight tech. You threw a number at me about how many acquisitions Descartes makes. It is a pretty active agenda.
That's true. I mean, we buy between 3 and 6 businesses a year. I think we've done 40 plus over the last 10 years. And it is a core arrow in our quiver as we think about maximizing shareholder value, growing our business, and ultimately serving the customers, because they really drive ideas on where they think we should buy.
Now, anytime a company's looking at growth, there is always that buy versus build decision. It sounds to me like Descartes is, I'm not going to say all buy, you tell me, but I mean, are there instances recently where Descartes said, you know what, we don't want to buy somebody, we think we can build this capability ourselves in-house. Does that ever happen, or is buying always the best way to go?
No, I mean, I think if you look at our financials, it's about 50-50 when we think about our growth. And we do think about where are we best positioned to serve our customers. And sometimes our customers say, hey, we love this tech, but we want it to be inside of the Descartes ecosystem, right? Financially secure, the money we spend on information security and all the things that a publicly traded company bring does provide a lot of value to these smaller and fast-growing freight tech companies.
So how's the market right now? It's almost always hot. Yep. Is it? Let's put it this way: is it hotter than usual, or a little less tepid, or and how was it during the pandemic?
Well, I mean, I think what we've seen is valuations are becoming a little bit more reasonable. I think post-COVID, we had 0% interest rates, so cheap money and high growth in the businesses that we're in. So the prices didn't align as much, and we went a little bit of time with no acquisitions. So we made a couple recently, and we think we'll make more where we see, the combination of high value to our customers and a fair price.
Is there an average multiple? I guess there probably is. What is it? What was it? What might it be?
Well, I mean, it changes so much. It's probably tough to get an average, and certainly a multiple of what. The bankers get more and more creative about multiple of next year's ARR and things like that. But, we, as an entrepreneur, we buy businesses, and our goal is a lot of times those entrepreneurs stay with us and help grow. If you look across our senior leadership, most of them came through acquisition. So we want to treat the business leaders right, pay them fairly, and hopefully give them an opportunity to continue to grow their business.
Let's note you said ARR, that's annual recurring revenue, which has always pretty much been the gold standard, I think. Or I shouldn't say the gold standard, but the primary standard for valuing a startup.
Yep, that's right. ARR. Now, like I said, we're hearing, sometimes, and especially closer to the pandemic, it was what ARR is going to be next year and a multiple on that, and a lot of takeouts and things like that. So we try to work with the business owners to find a fair and reasonable exit for them, and then ultimately a great environment for their products and people to flourish.
So what are you looking for? Obviously, yes, everybody wants the right price, but it's got to be more than that. You want a profitable company, but what are you looking at in terms of culture? What are you looking at in terms of their technology? Technology more important than ever. I mean, I can imagine a scenario in which you look at a company and say, you know what, they're doing well on paper right now, but their underlying technology has a lot of flaws. So maybe we don't want to go there because it's just waiting to implode. Beyond profitability, beyond ARR, because I guess in a lot of these cases, these companies might not be profitable at all yet.
That's right.
But they've got strong ARR. So what are some of the other key things you're looking at?
Well, I mean, it starts, we think about, skating to where the puck's going. And things move fast, so it's a difficult job, but where do we think the market's going to be in 3 years? Where do our customers' needs going to be in 3 years? I mean, we see, and we help customers manage shipping goods from A to B, and A could be somewhere in China, B could be a final mile delivery in Cleveland, Ohio. There's sometimes 30 or 40 freight tech vendors that are a part of that supply chain execution. So we try to find value elements that are additive to our network, to our capabilities, and it does matter in terms of the people. Who we're going to be working with, we're not the right fit for everybody. We really want folks that understand there's a combination of investment, opportunity, profitability, and all the things that I think make a strong, good product inside of a global, company like ours.
I always hear about culture, and culture is so key. How do you determine culture? Because I think even if you're an employee of a company, it takes you a while to hang around the office to figure what is the culture of this place like. Right. From an outsider, from somebody looking to buy a company, it always, I would imagine that's a real challenge to really get a handle on that culture.
It is, and I mean, it really starts with a high level of, caring. That employees actually care about delivering the product or service or whatever it is that they're built, that they care. And that means you see it in the quality of the people, you see in their ability to respond, you see it and hear it from their customers, right? Like they had an issue, but they responded quickly. So it is hard, and it does, the due diligence process is really both due diligence, but also integration of how is this company going to fit in? So one is, are they worth what they are? But very quickly it flips to, how are they going to fit into our business, our products, our people? The due diligence process does look at that as part of it too.
Do you feel confident that you're able to get in there enough to get those answers?
We think so. We do. I mean, the secret sauce, I think, in the expertise that we have a great corporate development team that helps find some of the best companies in the world that want to join up. And we have a pretty good playbook for how we help acquired companies go through the process, not only know what we're trying to get to, but so they know how they're going to work with us, right? That this is what it's going to be like day one. So that due diligence process should be a good experience for them too.
So what's hot right now? What is there any particular technologies that everybody's looking to acquire to grow into? You know, you can't go 5 minutes here at this meeting here in Atlanta without using the term AI. So that's the obvious question.
Sure. I mean, I think, you know, that's an easy one, but I think really where we're looking is where do we see a company that has, one, that provides great value to a large, diverse customer base. Two, has great data that when combined with other products within our existing ecosystem is even more valuable. You know, the 1 + 1 = 3 or 4.
Right.
Those couple of capabilities, I think, are things that we look for. And there's companies here today that we think are potentially a good fit. And it always takes two to tango. You know, I think that'd be my encouragement is for entrepreneurs, having the conversations. It doesn't mean if you say it, you have to sell, but starting to test the market, understand what would you be worth, how would it work inside of a company like a Descartes versus maybe a private equity partner. You know, I think that's the one thing, if I would have done it over, would have started those conversations earlier.
Well, who asks who out on the first date? Does Descartes usually go to the entrepreneur? Does the entrepreneur come to a company like Descartes? Or does the entrepreneur hire some sort of intermediary? You know, I always think of in the 3PL business, Tenney and Company, for example, as a well-respected advisor. Don't know if they're active in your field too. Where does the spark start?
All of the above. Certainly, we like to get to all the companies as soon as possible. That's typically difficult. We have bankers that we do work with that bring us great companies. And we love it when we get entrepreneurs that just reach out to us and say, hey, here's what I do. Here's where I think I could provide some value, or just here's who I am. How do you guys at Descartes think about a company like mine?
Right. So let's go back to the issue of AI. We've only got about 2 minutes left. Would a valuation see a significant bump if you see a company out there that they've really kind of got a handle on AI? Obviously, that doesn't mean they're using it to its full extent because nobody's at that point yet. But where they really get how that kind of technology can work into their operations, and then the acquirer is the long-term beneficiary of that.
I think that always is a value point. I think the getting AI is really, they've applied AI to provide income statement value to their customers. That means they're growing, helping their customers grow revenue or take costs out of their business. I think most companies are still very early days in applying that to income statement level impacts in their customers.
Okay. So let's say we're meeting here a year from now. I won't ask you specifically how many deals you think you've done, but how hot do you think the market will be a year from now? Hotter or about the same?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, like I said, it's gotten more hot in the sense that I think entrepreneurs are more reasonable about what the valuations are. There's certainly headwinds that are ahead of us, which I think, you know, one of the values that we provide is we help entrepreneurs de-risk given the capabilities that we bring to the table, and certainly as the purchaser help provide other investments to make them successful. So I guess it probably will be similar to where we are today.
I mean, it's interesting because, look, we've had a lot of talk here about the weak freight market. Yeah, maybe it's turning around, but it's turning around from a very low level. It doesn't sound like that's really hindered your business all that much.
We're a global company. We sit between buyers and sellers of freight. And yeah, I mean, we still see a good growth and a good opportunity for us to apply cash to take, you know, bring on the next great company.
All right, we want to thank Dan Cicerci. He's the GM of the Transportation Management Solutions Business Unit at Descartes. Dan, thank you for joining us here today on the Future of Supply Chain. And stay with FreightWaves TV for more Future of Supply Chain. Thank you very much. I'm John Kingston.